Hey, it's Tamie M here of TamieMCoaching.com, empowerment life coach and creator of the Freedom Class. And what I want to talk to you about today is how to outsmart a narcissist in conversation. Now, before I begin this video, I just want to quickly announce that we have a few spots available in the calendar this week for the free one-to-one consult with either myself or a member of my amazing team for the Freedom Class program. So if that's of interest to you, be sure to stick around till the end of the video for the announcement on how to enroll and sign up for that free consult. And with that, let's get started. So let's talk about how to outsmart a narcissist in conversation. First and foremost, you must know your audience. Know who it is that you are dealing with. Now, what I mean by that is if you're looking to outsmart someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism in conversation, it's vital that you recognize that you're fully dealing with someone who is empathy deficient, right? Like they're lacking in empathy, they're lacking in conscience, which means that your high empathy nature, your kind heart, all this compassion and love that you carry, all this decency and integrity that you carry is not going to give you the upper hand in this conversation. People who are lacking in empathy and lacking in conscience are capable of going to lengths that you and I cannot even fathom in order to be right, to win the right fight, to have the last word, to get their own way, to be seen in a certain light, to move their own agenda forward, right? They are willing to go to lengths that you and I could never even conceive of. So know up front that this is never going to be a level playing field because you're not dealing with someone who's going to play by the rules of life, play the game of life with the same level of kindness, compassion, decency, integrity, boundaried out attitudes and behavior, etc. Right? So know your audience, know who and what it is that you're dealing with, and adjust your expectations, your own behavior, and your own attitudes accordingly. Don't go in there projecting all the good stuff that you carry onto an individual who doesn't carry it. And while we're talking about projection, when it comes to knowing your audience specific to dealing with someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism, you got to remember they're doing a whole lot of projecting and they're not projecting good stuff, right? Like we all project to some degree. People who land on the spectrum of destructive narcissism are going through life with mountains of unresolved wounding, issues, trauma, etc. in their subconscious, in their shadow, right? And their tendency, one of their maladaptive relating styles, relating survival mechanisms, quite frankly, is to project all of that onto their nearest target. Right? It's a very heavy burden for them to carry, even subconsciously, so they will project. So when they're calling you this and calling you that and accusing you of doing this and accusing you of doing that and accusing you of being this and doing that some more and being more of that and doing this, that, and the other, understand that they are telling you exactly who and what they are and what they themselves are up to. It's a confessional. So don't take any of that personally. Again, know your audience. When you're going into this type of an exchange, know what you're dealing with. And when the projections are coming your way, remember, this is their stuff, not yours. You don't have to get any of it on you. You can let that stuff hit the floor where it belongs. Now, I always say it's best to limit our exposure once we determine that the individual that we're dealing with lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism. They've shown you that they're very toxic, very manipulative. They approach life through a distorted lens, a distorted perception of reality. Again, they're lacking in empathy, they're lacking in conscience, they have a tendency to lie, maybe pathologically, right? Like once we establish that that is actually what we're dealing with, no matter who they are or where they land in our lives, lives, right? Limiting our exposure to folks like this is always going to be our best bet. We all know that that's not always entirely possible or entirely possible right out of the gate. So, what do we do when we've got no alternative but to engage with an individual like this? Gray rock. If you want to outsmart a narcissist in conversation, you must learn to master the gray rock method, which requires some practice and some work. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of what that entails here in this video. I have another video here, the gray rock method, that you can check out if you want to do a deeper dive on that. But fundamentally, what it boils down to is you want to be as uninteresting and uninterested as possible. Destructive narcissists are looking for narcissistic supply. They're looking for a reaction from you. They're looking for attention. Any attention will do. The more flatline you can be in a conversation with them, the more boring, uninteresting, uninterested, like fully, right? You can be in any sort of exchange with them, the better off you will be. And again, this requires practice, and it also requires putting our own ego aside, right? Like, if it's hard to do that, if we're in there with our own ego, trying to get our needs met, trying to be seen, trying to be heard by people who fully are, incapable of seeing and hearing us and validating us in any real, authentic, or genuine way. Going gray rock with an individual like this is the short route to outsmarting them in a conversation, because we're fully giving them absolutely nothing to plug into. And this works in particular when they are saying something with deliberate intent to provoke us, to trigger us, to hurt us, to throw us off balance, etc. Right? They're looking to incite a reaction from us, and the less we actually play into that and give them that reaction, the better. They want us on the defensive. They want us dancing and performing for them. So boring, uninteresting, uninterested, very flat, no fun at all for an energy vampire, an emotional manipulator, a toxic individual who's looking to get their sick ego needs met through harming another individual, right? So whatever you do, hold that line so that you can remain in a place of non-reactivity. And I know this is easier said than done. It takes practice, in my opinion. It takes a lot of deep inner work, right? Like, it's a whole lot harder to throw us off balance when we're not walking around a great big huge, gaping wound easy to poke at, right? So there's things that we can do for ourselves, certainly, that will make this a lot easier, not least of which our own personal internal healing and recovery work. But whatever it takes for you to be able to remain in that place of non-reactivity, so that you're not defending yourself, explaining yourself, justifying. They want you on the defensive. That's where they want you. Don't go there. Now, that leads me to my next point. Refuse to play. Now, what I mean by that is, we have to get ourselves to the point where we love ourselves enough that we're not willing to roll around in the dirt at their level with them, no matter how hard they try to suck us into that toxic vortex, right? So walking into a situation where you have to engage with someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism, if you really want to outsmart them, it requires embodying a certain attitude, loving myself enough to be willing and able to put my ego aside and give up the need, like I said earlier, to be right. Easier said than done, for sure. But simple one-word short responses such as, oh, or okay, or I see, or I hear you, or I understand, and silence after you make that short response lets the narcissist know. You do that often enough, that lets them know that I'm not playing your game, right? When you walk into this type of a dynamic, embodying the attitude that you're entitled to be who you are, and I'm entitled to be who I am. And quite frankly, I'm pretty happy with who I am, even if I'm a work in progress, right? I can embody that attitude. I'm good. And if I have work to do to get there, then like we need to be doing our work, friends, for sure, right? But making a conscious decision that I'm not going to play. And I'm, silently, energetically, with confidence, with self-compassion, with self-love, with dignity, with integrity, with respect for myself and who I am, I'm not going to go there with you. When you are engaged with someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism, and you are carrying the attitude of not one drop of my self-worth, my self-esteem, my value is reliant on your approval or your validation of me, they are fully powerless over you. So that is the energy that you want to embody in order to outsmart a narcissist in conversation. Now, last but certainly not least, be smart. When you're dealing with someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism, don't give them any unnecessary information. Learn to keep your mouth shut, share less, the less words, the better. Hold your cards close to your chest. Information to these people is ammunition. And if they can use it against you at a certain point, especially if they decide for any reason that you're a target, they're going to. And they're not just going to use the information in, the real light of day, right? It'll be truth out of context. It'll be great big huge pieces of the story missing. It'll be lying by omission, right? It'll be a whole distorted story and narrative. And the reality is they're probably going to do that anyway, and you can't control that. So you must release and relinquish what you cannot actually control. But what you can control is how much information you give these people. So remember, with narcissists, information is ammunition. So less is always more. Learn to hold your cards close to your chest. And in addition, in so much as you are able, avoid inflicting narcissistic injury at all costs. It's not worth it. Putting your hand up to be the target of someone who lands on the spectrum of destructive narcissism just invites unnecessary pain, chaos, drama, and trauma into our life. So if you have the ability to just zip it and not make that sarcastic remark, or, push the envelope to the point where you are unnecessarily inflicting narcissistic injury, you'll be far better off. The bottom line is, when it comes to outsmarting a destructive narcissist in conversation, it's about getting yourself to the place where you can be really detached in a space, in an emotional, psychological, energetic, and in my opinion, spiritual place within your own container, your own force field, your own energetic force field, right? Where you can remain calm, cool, collected, detached, unfazed, ambivalent, bulletproof to a large degree. What that is absolutely no fun for a destructive narcissist. When you are in that place, you're no fun to play with. And when you're no fun to play with, you win. Always strive to walk away from a conversation with a narcissist, not having won the right fight, not having had the last word, not having finally been seen and heard and understood and validated and approved of, because that's likely to never happen. Your goal is to walk away with your own sense of self-worth, dignity, integrity, self-respect, intact, again, unfazed, and bulletproof. My friends, I hope you got some value out of this today. If you liked what you heard, remember to give me a like, drop a comment, and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button and that bell to be sure to be notified when I post new videos throughout the week. Feel free to drop your questions in the comments as well. If there's anything you'd like me to cover in up and coming content, or you have any questions, any burning questions that you'd like me to address, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to hear from you. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, we do have some spots available in the calendar this week for the free one-to-one consult with either myself or a member of my team for the Freedom Class program, which is my 8-week transformational coaching program specific to healing and recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse. So if that's of interest to you, there is a link in the description below where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation. And with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. As always, I will leave you with this. Know your value, and unlock your freedom. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.